Welcome to The Explainer. We're diving straight into what sounds like the ultimate 21st century fantasy play, owning a data center. If you want to crack open the hidden mechanics that literally power our modern world, well, you're in exactly the right place. Let's get into it. Picture this for a second. You're the landlord of the internet. You're sitting in this ultra-quiet, highly secure, high-tech fortress. Tech giants, we're talking the Googles and Netflixes of the world, are handing you millions of dollars every single month. And your only job? Literally just keeping their blinking lights on. You'd think you're buying a piece of the magical infinite cloud, right? Like unlocking the ultimate passive income stream. Okay, let's dive into this. The cloud illusion. Yeah, that beautiful passive fantasy, it's entirely an illusion. Because the cloud is just a marketing term. And understanding what actually sits behind it is going to completely change how you view this industry. You see the illusion of this pristine digital fortress printing money? But the reality? A data center isn't some breezy Silicon Valley software startup. Actually, scratch that. It's a gritty, high-stakes utility business. It's way closer to a radiator repair shop than a flashy tech company. Electricity and cooling are your absolute masters here. You aren't really selling technology. You're selling a massive industrial machine that's engineered to turn power and cooling into just one thing: uptime. So we really need to redefine this space. Because most people just assume a data center is, a giant warehouse stuffed full of computers. It's not. It's basically a toll booth for data. Think about an airport for a second. An airport doesn't actually fly the planes. It's a massive billion-dollar machine with specialized runways designed to move and protect people. Well, a data center does the exact same thing just for bits. It's highly specialized infrastructure built specifically to withstand the crazy immense heat of 10,000 servers running all at the same time. Which brings us to the price of admission. Now, what's really interesting about this is that before we even talk about how this machine prints money, we got to talk about what it costs to build, because you don't just casually open a data center. $10 million to over $100 million. That's before you plug in a single server. You're looking at upfront capital expenditures, CapEx, that would literally make a gold mine owner sweat. That's the staggering investment required just to build out the redundancy and reliability levels, those famous tiers that you absolutely need to attract major clients. So where on earth does all that money go? Well, your true moat isn't software. You need specialized land with massive high-voltage power grid access. I mean, your facility might guzzle as much electricity as a small city. You're paying for industrial-grade HVAC systems, pumping thousands of cubic feet of fresh air every single minute. You're building multi-layered backup generators and laying down literal fiber optic roads. And beyond the physical building, you're paying for a huge regulatory moat. We're talking years of navigating permits and environmental certifications. You're spending millions just to get the permission to operate, almost like a heavily regulated bank. Okay, so how do we make that money back? Let's look at the hidden engines of profit. Let's say you've cleared all those hurdles. The doors are open. You probably think your revenue comes entirely from charging rent for rack space, right? But that's just part of the illusion. Think of a gas station. It doesn't make its real margin on the fuel. It makes it on the coffee and the snacks inside. Or think of a car dealership. The real profit is in the finance office, not the metal of the car itself. And this brilliantly illustrates how a data center works. The rack space, that physical real estate you rent out, is often just the fuel. It's the entry point. The real profit? That's in the hidden engines. Let's move along and see how this builds your actual revenue step by step. Step 1 is getting them in the door with long-term contracts for that rack space. But step 2 is where the magic really happens. Cross-connect fees. These are literal tolls you charge every single time two companies inside your building want to link their servers together. And then step 3, the power markup. You buy electricity at massive wholesale rates and sell it back to your tenants at a premium markup. Those hidden fees and markups, those are what actually cover your massive cooling overhead and generate your real profits. But, and this is a big but, we have to talk about the volatility trap. Before you rush out to start pouring concrete, we need to talk about the dark side of this equation. There are massive, hidden risks lurking right behind those staggering fixed costs. I want to put you in the hot seat for a second. What happens when disaster strikes? In normal real estate, a bad year means a slow decline in property values, maybe few empty units. But in the data center business, bad years do not arrive slowly. They arrive at the exact speed of a text message. A 10-second power failure. That is literally all it takes. Think about it. In your home, a 10-second failure just means you have to reset the microwave clock. In a data center, it doesn't just mean a reboot. It can incinerate a year's worth of trust. It destroys your reputation and your margins in a single afternoon. If your cooling system fails and a server farm melts down, the liability claims from your massive clients will eat your entire capital cushion before you can even get a technician on the phone. The thing is, your costs are incredibly rigid. You've got fixed debt on a highly specialized building, you're paying for 24/7 security and maintenance staff, you've got inescapable cooling costs and property taxes. Your survival depends entirely on occupancy math. If wholesale energy prices suddenly spike, or if just one major tenant decides to leave for a competitor down the road, your net interest margin compresses instantly. You can so easily find yourself bleeding money every single month just to keep the lights on. So, what does this all mean? Let's look at the final math. Let's pull all of this together with a forensic breakdown of a well-run, mid-sized facility. Imagine your data center brings in $20 million in revenue. Sounds incredible, right? But think about this. 85 to 90% of that money is already spoken for. That is all fixed costs. Your staggering electricity bill, your round-the-clock maintenance team, property taxes, the massive interest on those construction loans. So the crucial point is, after all of that overhead, you are left with a surprisingly thin 10 to 15% slice of net profit. On a really good year, that's maybe $2 to $3 million actually making it into your pocket. But, as we've established, perfection is absolutely required here. The difference between a cash machine and a money-losing liability is terrifyingly thin. It's often just 1 or 2 percentage points of uptime and efficiency, a minor shift like a recession hitting and tech startups pausing their expansion, or a competitor opening up a mile away with slightly better cooling tech can make that tiny margin vanish completely. Just poof, gone. Ultimately, if you decide to step into this arena, you absolutely have to understand what you're buying. You aren't buying a stable, set-it-and-forget-it passive income stream. You are buying a machine that turns trust into money. And it's a highly volatile machine that only works as long as that trust and the power never, ever runs out. And that brings us to the end of this explainer. But it leaves us with a pretty massive question. If our entire modern digital world is resting on profit margins this incredibly thin and risks this volatile, are we building the future on a fragile foundation? Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Also, tell me, which industry's hidden math should we put under the microscope next? Thanks for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next one.